All right, guys, top of the morning. Happy June 2nd. Yes, this is still a working week. I know we have the 4th of July to prepare, get your water slides, get your bikinis, get your shorts, do whatever you guys are going to do. But until then, we're still working. All right, we're still working. I know you guys are going to have some good times, but this is the opportunity for us to still buckle down despite and make sure that we're out there for our consumers. And hey, listen, some of you probably might even show some houses on the 4th of July. I don't know, but I'm going to have somebody bring us out on the field today. I'm going to actually go over to Evangeline. And the reason why, Evangeline, I know you have game. I know that you speak very well, articulate very well, but it was a treat having you in the session yesterday in Oakland. And I think that what you said, what you provided, input, output, I think it was really, really powerful. And so figured I'd give you the mic again and have you share your thoughts and your sentiment on this beautiful Wednesday morning. You know, we give love where love is due. And so let's go, Evangeline. Let's have you share your thoughts, contribution on this beautiful, beautiful Wednesday morning. And I'm going to turn it over to you to call people out about not having the camera on. So I'll have you do that part, okay?
Okay. Morning, everybody. Turn your cameras on. Oh no, let me be more authoritative. Turn your cameras on.
You got to say with your chest, shoulders back, head up. Let's roll.
um, but yeah, I think I'm in a space of what I want to share is like take all opportunities to put yourself out there. Um, and any learning opportunities you can take them. And I've kind of been in a space of like doing it for the plot, right? Like do it for the plot. You may not want to go to that networking event, that development, that maybe you're tired. You don't want to go to that dinner with an old friend. You never know what that old friend's gonna tell you. In both personal life, what if they're going through something as well as business? They want to sell their home. So I think especially coming from a space of like depression lately, and hey, and everyone goes through that, right? I know mine's postpartum, but maybe everyone can get into a little funk, but I've been trying to get out of it by saying do it for the plot, do it for your own narrative and your own development, do it for the plot.
You know, I've heard it said multiple ways, but I've never heard it articulated, do it for the plot. I think that's really powerful. I think it's a great reminder. And so obviously, you know that this community, myself, all of us are here to support you, help you if you ever need anything. But you've definitely been a light. We appreciate all of your positive energy. We appreciate all of your insights yesterday. And do it for the plot. Yeah, I just wrote that down as well. So really good stuff. Listen, you guys, there's obviously some changes going on in the market. There's all kinds of things that you guys are seeing in the news. And I wanted to give you my thoughts on this. And we're just going to turn it over to you guys today. I want you guys to share with us high level what you're experiencing. What kind of offers are you writing? What are the patterns, nuances, conditions that you're currently experiencing? Because I'm thinking about it this way. Kenny and I were talking about yesterday, shared it on our sales meeting, but if you missed it, that the rents in San Francisco are now back to pre-pandemic. So 2019 rents are back up to that level. So when the rents are up to that level, what does that say for the rest of the Bay Area and Sacramento? What do you think the cause and effect is of rents going up to significantly higher than what they've been in the last 4 years? What is the direct effect of that, you guys? So share, go ahead and take yourself off of mute. No wrong answers here. Let's have this conversation. If rents go up to pre-pandemic rates, 2019, what is the direct impact on the rest of the market, including Central Valley as well as Sacramento? Let's go, D.
To me, that says that people, and I watched Kenny's story last night, but people are going back into the city. While there was news of some big businesses leaving San Francisco, there are others that are moving into the city, which is causing people to, again, look for homes and look for apartments. And so with rents going up, that means people will be looking to invest in condos and single family homes again, as well as obviously want to live in them. And then for the surrounding areas, that's good for us because people will start getting creative and they'll want to buy in Oakland's and surrounding cities across the bridge. So if rents are going up in the city, that's a good signal for us in terms of prices going up, but that's also incentive to tell buyers to get off the bench sooner than later because they won't be able to catch these deals the more that things go up, obviously.
Yeah, and if you've been selling homes or showing homes in San Francisco over the course of the last couple of years, they saw such a decline in that condo market. What I predict over the next few months, or I'd say until the end of the year, maybe even going into early 2026, we're going to see an uptick. Right, we're going to see an uptick because you have these big technology companies moving in. You have AI, which we spoke about in depth yesterday. AI is not just here as a fad. This is a game changer for our industry, for technology, how we receive information, how we gather, how we curate information. And so I believe that they're going to house, they're going to employ, and they're going to put a lot of jobs in the market. And so I think that housing market is going to go significantly up. And just like early on through pandemic, when we had this mass exodus, remember 2020, everyone wanted out. Everyone moved eastward because what happens in San Francisco impacts us all. It impacts the East Bay, right, immediately. But then that year, in 2020, 35% of the people left San Francisco, went up to Sacramento. But we're seeing that here in the Central Valley as well. When you think about Mountain House, Tracy Hills, Lathrop, River Islands, Manteca, and everything that's been built out this way, it's all a direct reflection of what happens in San Francisco. And so that money comes with, economic impact comes with, opportunities come with. So you guys, I think that we're in a really, really great time. When you think about your buyers right now, the opportunities that they have, the negotiation power that you guys have, the opportunities to get concessions, the opportunity for you guys to get credits, this is just a great time. But, as Kenny was stating, me and him were talking yesterday, this is not going to last. This is not going to last. So for those buyers that have been on the fence, for the buyers that have been waiting for the perfect storm, the perfect time, we never can do that, right? We never can predict that. However, all signs point to this being a very, very positive time for our consumers right now that are searching. And in some areas, they're going to get themselves a smoking deal. And so what I want to hear from you guys today is I want to hear your message to the market, how you're addressing the concerns, the questions, what's the dialogue, and share with us about a particular market that you're serving right now. So I'm going to have 5 people get involved. Now listen, be bold. Even if you don't have this down solid, it's all good. You're here for coaching and for practice. I'd rather you do it here than be out there with the consumer. What I want to do is I want us to have some popcorn. We're going to sit back. We're going to listen to some people spit some game about the market, what they understand about the market, and then obviously have a discussion around that. So per usual, this is Wednesday. This is when you guys are going to get super involved. So I need 5 people to get up in the queue to get ready to share their thoughts, contributions, insights, nuances, patterns, and how they are articulating the reality of what's actually happening in the market. So I'm going to pause for a quick second because I got 2. And I'm not going to go any further. We could just sit here and look at each other awkwardly until I get 3 more hands involved and up in the screen. Okay, that's 2. Remember where we are, you guys. This is Keep It Moving Group Coaching. This isn't, I'm just going to listen. I'm going to get involved coaching. So I got 2 people. I got 3 people. Who's my 4th and who's my 5th? Let's go, you guys. I got 4. I need 1 more person to get involved in the conversation. There she is. All right, let's go. 1 person on the dance floor, everyone gets on the dance floor. All right, Jacob Alley. First things first, what market, which area do you want to talk about? Let's go there first. Let's kind of categorize your conversation.
Oakland.
Okay, cool, man. So talk to us. What are you experiencing? What are the nuances? What are the patterns? Share with us your message to market, big dog. Let's roll.
Yeah, so do you remember 2020?
I do, distinctly.
Okay, well, it's literally the opposite of 2020's market because now buyers actually have all the leverage. Almost half, 44% of sellers are actually given incentives, which is at a record high. So right now is one of the best times to buy as a buyer. I mean, if you're a seller, it's not as good, but if you're looking to buy in Oakland or a lot of these surrounding Bay Area cities, it's one of the best times to take advantage of a great opportunity.
So Jacob, walk us through this. You just got in a contract. We saw you on the leaderboard yesterday. Talk to us about that particular deal. What went into the offer? Talk to us about the competition level in that area. Tell us what you experienced when you were doing your research on that offer.
In Richmond or in Vallejo?
Yeah.
This is like my second one in Vallejo, so I haven't really worked too much in there. But yeah, I haven't really worked too much in Vallejo, but I'm pretty sure it's really like a buyer's market. There's a lot of inventory. a lot of price reduction. So kind of like the same as Oakland.
Were you were you up against competition? Did you have multiple offers, or were you guys the only one?
No, we had an all cash offer, so we were a backup offer at first, and then it fell through.
All right, cool. So when you were having that communication with your buyers, did you say, let's just submit, let's see what happens with this buyer or this other deal, see if it falls out, and then we're going to be in that position? What was that
Yeah,
communication?
yeah, because I told him right now a lot of people are backing out of deals and deals are falling apart. So just make the offer. If it sticks, it sticks. If not, we keep looking. But you fail if you don't try. So you might as well just try if you really like this house and they tried and they got it.
Man, really, really good stuff. I appreciate you sharing, big dog. Let's go up to Hugo, and then we'll go CC next, and I'll get to the other hands. Hugo, what do you got for us? What market do you want to talk about? What are the conditions, nuances, and patterns that you're experiencing?
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Coach. The market I want to talk about is Vallejo, Fairfield, Vacaville, so the Solano County market on this side of the bridge. And yeah, I would say, I mean, we're pretty much experiencing the same thing as the other markets. There are definitely way more sellers than buyers. Inventory is definitely up. I think Vallejo year over year is about 25 to 30% around that range. And yeah, I mean, for sellers, you have to price your property right. You have to stand out. And for buyers, you have a ton of options to choose from. So definitely deals are happening. And it's definitely that time of opportunity because in 2020, buyers were, competing against other buyers, overpaying and, having to sacrifice something, whether it was that school district or, one less bedroom to get into something. And then around 2022, 2023, 2024, buyers were having to get with these higher interest rates and still there wasn't a lot of inventory. So it's like you were getting what you wanted, but the payment was a little high. But now it's like, there are so many options to choose from and not just so many options, but you can actually, get a good deal, get a bargain. So it's like, it's kind of like balanced now, I would say, or maybe even more on the buyer side. So
I think Jacob asked a really important question yesterday. I want to pose it to you right now, Hugo, see how you would address this. So I'm a seller right now, and I'm seeing all these, all this information about there's more buyers, there's more opportunities, there's more inventory, right? Why would I put my house on the market right now? What's the advantage for me knowing that I'm up against all these other listings in my market? What's the advantage for me?
Well, I've talked to like flippers, right? Same thing, right? They're, what I wanted to see what their mentality is through this shift. And it's all about standing out and what your need is, right? So if you have a need, right? If you want that extra bedroom or you want that better school district, you are a seller, but a buyer at the same time. So on the buy side, on the sell side, you might sacrifice something. You might not get what you would get during 2020, 2021. But on the buy side, you're definitely going to get a bargain. So it's kind of like that balance. You might lose something here, but you're definitely going to win something right here, compared to 2020 where you were getting so much here, but you were getting beat out here. For example, I have a prospect buyer right now who owns a property in Vallejo. Property during the pandemic during 2020 was worth around 600K the house, and if he were to sell right now, he might be selling at 550, 525 even. But he wants to buy a ranch up in Vacaville. Those ranches would go up to over $1 million during the pandemic, and right now they're selling at 800, maybe even $700,000. So that's a $200,000-$300,000 discount on that ranch. So it's like he's losing a little bit here, but he's definitely winning right here.
Okay, you guys, I want you to pause for a second. There was some really, really powerful stuff right now that Hugo just shared. I saw some people in the comments, but I want to hear from you guys. What did you hear? I know what I heard, but I want to go to Aaron Chris. I'm going to go to Jessica Segura Hernandez. Aaron, what did you hear from what Hugo just shared? Because I thought this was a really, really dope perspective, bro. Really good job. Let's go, Aaron. What did you hear?
I heard facts. I heard truth. I heard confidence and really logical sense in what he was saying. Because like he's saying, like sellers are going to lose in this market to a little bit. And again, it's paper losses. It's what they thought they could have gotten 2020. But if you didn't sell your house, then you're living in it, right? And ultimately, it's just circling back. What are your needs? Like if your need is to buy a ranch and you've outgrown the house in Vallejo, that it's okay to take a loss, because even that loss it's not even a loss. You still are winning, and then you're winning even more on the buy-up property. So the way he put it and the thought behind it, I mean, if I was sitting there as a person potentially selling and buying my home, like, he would have my full confidence.
Yeah, I totally agree. Really good stuff. Jessica went out of frame, so I'll come back to Jessica in a second. But Christina Macias, you threw your hand up. Let's go over to you.
Yes, I really liked that he turned the hesitancy of the buyer or the seller to what is your goal, and really made it about that seller, because sometimes sellers just want to make the most money. So for that seller, it would not be the best time. But since that particular one wanted that ranch, I feel like he really painted that picture that would convince him to go ahead and list it.
Yeah, you might not net exactly what you wanted on the sell. However, can we make that up on the buy side? Right. I just don't think that I've heard it articulated. You guys are probably having these conversations, but I think it just put it into a very, very clear perspective and well said. Let's go to Jessica. Jessica, what did you hear Hugo say? What stood out for you in that dialogue?
I'm so sorry. I stepped away. I was making my tea.
It's okay. It's okay.
Sorry.
It's okay. It's all right. We all need our tea. Stavo. So I'll come back to you. Stavo,
Okay.
what did you, Hugo say? What stood out for you?
What stood out for me was that he said that although you're sacrificing on selling your property, you're not going to get the most that you want for it, and it might be a sacrifice, you have an advantage when it comes to the buying side, because you're going to have a lot of inventory, and you're more than likely going to find whatever you're looking for, whatever suits your needs.
Yeah, yeah. Because before, and he also brought this up too, there was years where we would compromise, right? School districts, neighborhood, proximity to the freeway. We would compromise that just to get ourselves in a home, because we didn't want to miss out on an opportunity, because the opportunities were very few and far between, because we had limited inventory. Well, we no longer have to sacrifice what we truly, truly want, and there's more opportunities. So selling that property means that you might not net it. However, you have more opportunities on the other side. I thought it was really, really profound the way he said it. Let's go to Cece. Cece, let's go to you. Thoughts, contributions, and dialogue. Let's hear your message to market and how you're addressing where we are currently at. And let's give Hugo love, respect, positive energy. Same to Jacob as well. Let's go, Cece.
Okay, I met with a first-time home buyer yesterday, and that was really good for me because I'm a newer agent. So I felt like I could take a little bit control of the conversation and ask a lot of, answer a lot of the basic questions. But it's just what you said with her here in Walnut Creek. Um, the price point is higher, and she's looking for very specific. They're in a rental right now in Walnut Creek. They love the school district, and so there's just not a lot in the price range that she has right now, and she's not willing to compromise. So I printed that buyer roadmap, and we kind of walked through that. She had a lot of lender questions. So Christina from the money store is the one who's able to help us. And it was just good for me to try and answer some questions. And then also, since I had the condo listing that the seller pulled, I was able to speak to that experience that, even though something's listed at 600,000, the other condos were selling for 530, 540. So that is sort of where the price that the condos are. And she's probably going to be qualified for less than that. But then some of the lower condos, the HOA is higher. So really just trying to find that balance with somebody's price range. And she's willing to wait because, like I said, she's in a good rental. So she's not terribly unhappy, but she has two small daughters, and she's looking, sort of long term. So eventually they want to get out of that. But
all right. So Cece, so knowing that you in this particular situation, and this is on the complete opposite, you're limited on inventory. You know that she wants to live in a specific area. What can you do about that to potentially find opportunities for your consumer?
Well, I just told her that I would keep my eye out, to see.
So past you keeping your eye out, what else can you do? Grassroots campaign to see if you can find inventory for your consumer.
I could door knock and see who wants to move out of their properties. No.
No, don't laugh about that. That's
Yeah.
exactly what. So
Yeah.
you can door knock, you can also mail, and you can just do like a moving on up, ... not quite. I have a consumer, her and her two daughters want to live in this area. We haven't found any opportunities. If you've ever considered putting your house on the market, we'd love to make this a smooth transition for you, a seamless transition for you. Send me a message. We'd love to chat with you about our strategy and what that looks like, so on and so forth. But like showing your consumer that you're even willing to do that, even if nobody raises their hand in that community, at least is going to show her that you're willing to do that extra work, right? We're always going to take a look at off markets and Slack and the MLS, but can you just go a couple layers deeper to show her that you put some grassroots campaigns out there to see if we can't find the inventory for her? It's going to go a long way. Even if it doesn't pan out, it's going to show her your willingness to go above and beyond.
Okay, I like that.
Yep. Good stuff, CC. Let's go to Princess and we'll go over to Lisa. Princess, what do you got for us? Message to market, key nuances, patterns, conditions. What are you experiencing right now? Because you just got into contract, so this is fresh for you. Let's roll.
It is. Good morning, everybody. So at least with this property, we went into we got into contract maybe, 12 days after it's been on market. Noticing that a lot of homes at first when we were kind of picking back up because we were taking some breaks here and there, but at first like inventory was very limited, and then what was coming to market, it was stuff that needed to be fixed. Not a lot of move-in ready homes, or if it was move-in ready homes, it was out of our price range. And so now seeing that the shift that is more towards a buyer's market, it's move-in ready, and it's within the price range. And honestly, some properties that I'm still seeing that we had on the list are actually still sitting on market. So we were the only deal for this property. Well, the only offer for this property, and got closing costs, credit to closing costs covered, and they were willing to work with us. So no counters either. So yeah.
I love this. I love this because I want you to think about fear, right? I want you to think about fear, consumer fear. Are you guys hearing, and you guys are in the trenches, are you guys hearing mass amounts of fear from consumers like we were hearing 6 months ago? Or is that kind of subsided and people are feeling pretty positive about the market? What's your guys' vantage point on that? Do you think fear is heightened, or do you think fear has kind of subsided and people are feeling good about this market? People are getting smart now. Okay, cool. Aaron, go ahead and take yourself off of mute.
I think with regards to that, the fear is not sticking. Like, people have questions, they have apprehensions, but like when I jumped on the call and Hugo was explaining something, I think they're more open to receive information and make decisions opposed to having just that crippling fear that they don't want to do anything. So I feel like from the buyers who have expressed fear or apprehension, it's been something where you can talk to them about it, and then they start to see and understand that this is a huge opportunity for them. And then the sellers, again, it's more motivated based on what their goals are. So I'm just speaking from the buyer's fear of getting into the market.
Yeah. Jessica, you put some stuff in the chat, then we'll go up to Evangeline. What do you got for us, Jessica?
I've been seeing a lot of young first-time home buyers. So in their early 20s, 23, 24, they're not showing any fear. They're ready. They're ready to go out there, submit offers. Yeah, I feel like the fear has subsided, and they're doing their research too. So, yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? I appreciate this. We talked about this yesterday in our AI class. The consumers are doing a lot of research on their own. They understand what's going on. They're coming with their own data, their own facts. And it's really cool to see that the consumers are actually doing mass amounts of homework, right? And that is the sentiment right now. When you think about the news, there's nothing too fearful. Now, that will change. will change. But as of right now, I feel that the messaging is really, really favoring the buyers. When we think about what was happening 6 months ago, an election, oh, we're going to wait, whatever the case is right now, I think that consumers feel really, really comfortable and they feel at ease. Evangeline, you had your hand up, then we'll get over to Lisa. Evangeline, what was your thought and contribution?
Yeah, sorry, nursing here. But what I'm seeing with fear, I'm realizing it really is based on the temperament of the individual and the perspective of, are you a more, reserved and cautious person, or do you want to, go and get your goals and achieve your goals? Because I have a first time buyer right now in contract, and he was just very scared. And I think it was just a matter of asking where that fear was rooted in, because maybe it was like, I think it ended up being like, what if I lose my job, whatever. And Roxanne and I were speaking to him like, the bank does not want to just take away your home. You would speak with them about pausing your plan, or you would negotiate with them, right? So like really getting to the root of that fear. I just had a buyer's consultation yesterday. Yes, baby, chill out. I just had a buyer's consultation yesterday, and they were like, well, we're just afraid because many companies are moving out of San Francisco and going to like places like Austin, Charlotte, whatever. I'm like, okay, and where are you getting this information that this Bay Area market's just going to implode on itself? And they couldn't answer that. So I think really just getting to the root of the fear and handling that and addressing that has been helpful, because I realize there's some people who are just going to see it in a negative light regardless, and you just have to assist them because it's just temperament, right?
Yeah, and I'm glad you said this temperament, because there's just people that no matter what, they're just negative. Right? We've all experienced those people, and there's none of you on this call, but there's just negative people out there. That's just their disposition. That's how they operate in the world. So Evangeline, I appreciate that vantage point. Jessica, was that another contribution on the same vein? And then we'll get over to Lisa. Don't go too far, Lisa. I haven't forgot about you. Let's go, Jessica.
Well, I was just gonna say, I know you guys are talking about a shifting market, but in San Pablo and Hercules is still competitive. Like, when I submitted an offer a few days ago, they already had two offers in hand, and then there's another property where I have other buyers who want to submit. The listing agent said expect to be in a multiple offer situation with 5 offers in hand. So it definitely depends on the market.
Yeah, let's have that conversation. This is a really, really good. If you guys can, put in the chat or just raise your hand. What have you experienced over the course of the last 3 months to be more competitive areas? There's areas that will always be competitive. Berkeley will always be competitive. Rockridge, there's places, Temescal, there'll always be competition. The Annex, right? Richmond Annex. There's always going to be places in the Bay Area and surrounding that are always going to be super, super competitive. Does anybody have areas that they've been writing homes in, doing their research, that have been super competitive? Kia, was that a hand up or was that just a hand clap? That was a hand clap? Okay, cool. Aaron, what do you got for us?
I've been kind of working the Highway 4 from West County to East County, and I agree with Jessica that in like Hercules and Pinole and that area, when I'm looking or writing, it's always been competitive. And the last couple of offers that I was writing out there haven't gotten accepted, whereas here in East County, at first, the beginning of the year, people were really like digging their heels in, and they weren't doing credits in some situations, and they had a certain level of competition, but it seems like it fell off in the last offer I wrote that we're signing today on. I was able to, get a good dialogue going with the agent, which was also something that was sometimes difficult when they were feeling themselves. And we were able to work something out where we got $18,000 in credits to take care of this person. So in East County, and again, when I say East County, not necessarily Brentwood, I'm sure Brentwood is really aggressive, but like Oakley and Antioch, it seems like there's opportunities for people and a little less competition. But yeah, if you're in West County, Pinole, Hercules, Rodeo, like I've been having problems out there, and that's just in the condo market.
Do you guys think that the listing agents are becoming a little bit more humble? And I see some thumbs up, and what I mean by that is that, before we've all dealt with that dickhead listing agent. Well, submit your highest and best, right? Like they don't give you much. They're just really, really kind of like aloof about the information they're willing to give you? Are you guys experiencing that they're more apt to give you information? They're more willing to talk with you? Damien, you threw your hand up.
Yeah, I just got an offer accepted yesterday for a buyer client, and you know, sellers agents try the same tactics, but they don't always land when you can sense that they don't necessarily have as much as you're used to. So the agent texts me back asking if we had any wiggle room on price, and I'm like, they're talking to me a little bit too much for them to have a lot of offers in hand. So I'm like, no, my clients, this is the top of their budget for this home. And lo and behold, we ended up getting the offer accepted. And so then I was kicking myself because I was like, damn, maybe I should have went in a little lower. But whatever we did, it actually got their offer accepted. So I'm glad about that. But that, to the point, it just wasn't as much of a back and forth as I'm used to in terms of negotiation. They accepted our first offer and didn't try to push for more money. So I think they're softening and yeah, they're becoming a little bit more realistic.
Yeah, and you know what? I believe that a lot of listing agents right now, and I'm glad that we're here. They're I guess they're less on their high horse. You know, we've all dealt with those listing agents. We feel like they're on their high horse. Like, they won't give me any information, won't even give me a range. But I think this is making ourselves included. This is making us all a little bit more humble on how we have communication with buyers agents. Because now, who has the upper hand? You guys have the upper hand. And we wanted this. We've wanted this for a very long time. The buyer's agent or the buyers should have an amazing opportunity. And it's been a challenge for a lot of people. And there's been a lot of blue collar people, like Jessica was saying, a lot of, younger people that couldn't compete with a lot of the money that was out there, couldn't compete with these cash offers, will now actually have a fighting chance to get into a home. This is a beautiful, beautiful time. So I appreciate you sharing that to me. And let's go, Lisa, you had your hand up for a while. Sorry, I missed you for a little while. Let's go back over to you, and I'm gonna get some additional thoughts, feedbacks, and insight from everybody. Let's go, Lisa.
I forget what I was gonna say.
You're gonna talk to us about the market.
Yeah, so it definitely, I'm seeing it favor the buyers, but I also feel like I've seen more buyers, more activity from them in the last week, the last few days. And I don't know if the lenders could let us like have rates improved a little bit more. Maybe there's new, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot more activity just in the last few days. So I feel like we're in a pretty volatile market still. So if your buyer can get a great deal, now's the time for them to take advantage, for sure.
And actually, I'm glad you brought that up, because I'm going to segue over to Ashley in a second. I guess this poses a really good question to you as well. Now that the buyers have more opportunities, right? Do you feel that they're less prone to take action and write offers? Are they looking for longer? Are they shopping for more days? What are you guys experiencing? Are they less like, is there less, here's my point. Is there less a sense of urgency with your buyers right now because they have an abundance? Are you guys experiencing that right now? Would love to hear from you on that. Throw your hand up, get involved in that conversation. Do you feel that they're just taking a little bit more time to decide because they have more options? There's more fish in the sea for them? Are you guys experiencing that? Anybody have a contribution on that? If not, I'm just going to turn it. Let's go, Ash.
I have, I think, like 9 people shopping right now, and a lot of them are really like taking their time and looking at things and going to work and not thinking about it, and then coming back and looking at the house again and looking at different options. That's not normal for me. Usually it's like, okay, you find an option that you really like, you put an offer in. So I definitely see people taking their time a little bit more. And then I just wanted to make sure everyone knows the medium house price is still going up. So we see all these seller credits and everything and these price cuts, but the actual sales prices, the medium home price in sales, does continue to rise. So what I see happening a lot is the buyer's agent is figuring out, okay, what is a good offer that the seller will be happy with net? And then to get those credits, they're upping the purchase price as long as they think it'll appraise still. They're upping the purchase price and then wrapping in the credits, and that results in a win-win for the seller and the buyer. The seller gets what they want. The median house price is still rising, right? The seller gets what they want. The buyer gets a huge discount on their interest rate, 2-1 buy down opportunities, closing costs paid for, down payment assistance, all kinds of great stuff. And it does create that win-win. So don't get discouraged if you have sellers, because there's a way to do it where the seller can get what they want net, or at least, a good price net, because the medium sales price is still going up.
Totally. Absolutely. And then Lisa brought up a really good point. She said, have the rates changed? Is that why I'm seeing an influx? Talk to us a little bit about that state of the market.
We are actually at close to the lowest levels in interest rates that we've been at this year. I just logged an FHA this morning at 6.125 for free, no points. That's pretty good. We've been at around 6.5 most of the year. So 6.125 for this specific client was really good. As far as like overall in the market, if you've been paying attention to Twitter or X or whatever, Jerome Powell, the head of the Fed, the chair Fed, is supposed to retire May 15th. But if you've seen the drama going back and forth in the headlines, Trump wants to replace him now. He's like, I want to cut rates. This has to happen right now. So what he's done is he's initiated what's called a shadow Fed president. And trust me, your clients know about this. They are watching TikTok videos. They know what's going on. I've had some very educated borrowers, but you have to out-educate them. You have to know enough to talk about what they're talking about and then teach them more, because that's who they're going to end up staying with, because that now they trust you because you have the information. So Trump is basically saying, okay, well, I'm interviewing Fed presidents now because I'm going to not replace you early, but I'm going to pick the new guy early. And the way the market works is because it's basically just a bunch of people betting on live news and what's going to happen in the future, is as soon as he picks this person, if that person starts talking and saying, I'm going to cut interest rates could start falling as soon as they open their mouth. So that's basically his plan, is I'm going to pick somebody, they're going to go out there, they're going to start talking, and then interest rates should start to fall. Now, overall, it still depends on the data. You can't just go out there and cut rates because you want to. They're looking at the employment data. That is the one line that is more important than inflation. It's more important than anything else. And the data has to show that the job market is breaking to give anyone a reason to cut interest rates. We have a report coming out tomorrow. Wake up early, check all your news sites to find out what happened with the labor market, because that's going to dictate what's going to happen next.
I love this. I love this. Any thoughts, takeaways, questions, contributions to what Ashley just shared? Anybody have anything? I want to make sure that we truly leverage this time when we have the experts in the room to ask them any questions, clarifying questions, go layers deeper. Did anybody have anything else on that? Going once? Let's go, Hugo.
Yeah, so I did read an article, and Ashley, like what she's saying, it is true. The median sales price is going up, but there is a gap between the median sales price and the median list price. So the median list price is like super high, and the median sales price is going up, but there's still like a gap compared to like 2020, where like the gap was the opposite, like the sales price was over the list price. So that I read an article 2 days ago about that.
Buyers think it's 2021 still. Good stuff. And Hugo, if you have that article, drop that article down below. Also, what I want you guys to do is I want you to start looking at migration reports. So if you go into your chat right now, I just did a migration report, seeing where people are moving from and where they're, moving from San Francisco and then where they're going to, And it will list all these different places and all these different articles, so where you can start really looking at where people are going. I think that this one here is a report from Pods, and obviously Pods has all the moving data because that's what they do. And I want to share this with you. You guys can take a look at this when you have a second, but it's really important that we're reviewing migration reports. We're talking about this. We're having communication about this, how it's impacting our surrounding communities, East Bay, Sacramento, Lathrop, Mountain House, Manteca, Stockton areas. It's impacting all of us. So it's important that we start speaking to that. So remember to market to the market. right? The market's going to do whatever it's going to do, and our marketing needs to match and mirror what's happening. That way it's really, really clear that you understand what's going on. You're always oscillating throughout your messages through the entire year. So if you guys can really, really make sure that this is something that you are nailing at a high level, no matter what happens, you're still going to win, because the data and the information is always going to help the consumer, make them feel confident, make them feel comfortable. And the more that you can do that over and over and over again, you'll always take market share. It's that when the market shifts and you don't know how to adjust your verbiage, then what happens is that they make it an issue, the consumer, and you make it an issue too, because you don't have the right communication to combat whatever happens in the market. Because I don't give a shit if interest rates go to 12%, people are still going to buy houses. I do not care what happens. We're still going to win. And I'll give you some examples. In June, last month, with all of the backlash of tariffs, with all this looming war conversations, everything that's going on, our company had the best month that we've had all year. All year. Last month, right? So you guys got to think about that. No matter what happens, you guys are controlling the narrative. And this is your responsibility. So when you're in rooms like this, when you're hearing the Hugos of the world and Damians of the world, and Lisas of the world, and Ashley and Jeff and everyone sharing their contributions, this is when you're taking notes. And then you're really redefining and perfecting your message to market. And so you guys, really, really good stuff. Anybody else have any contributions? I would love to hear from you, something you're experiencing, an offer that you wrote. Gary, I knew that you'd throw your hand up, big dog. Let's hear from you. And feel free to get involved in conversation, guys. I want this to be an open conversation. Let's go, Gary.
Man, always feels good to be around the experts trying to get smarter and better and, be more informed. I just want to bring a quick information. The city I live in, Hayward, California, is actually going crazy, on fire. When I say that, like, houses are selling less than 23 days. It's selling for 5 to 7% over asking. Like, it's going crazy right now in Hayward, people trying to find homes. There's only like 27 homes available in like 5 of the biggest neighborhoods total. It's just an incredible opportunity for sellers in Hayward right now. Just wanted to put that out there. There's always an opposite side of the spectrum, right? And there's one side going one way, one side going another way. Some going crazy in Hayward right now. That's what I do know. It's coming alive.
And what do you think's driving this demand so high in your neighborhood or in your area? If you just had to put your expert hat on this and give your synopsis, what do you think that would be, Gary?
I think the same thing that made Hayward popular in the early 2000s. So early 2000s, Hayward started to get a lot of new construction. Before then, it was all old buildings built in the 40s, 50s, right? But in the 2000s, had a lot of new construction. The reason it blew up then is the same reason now. It's in the very middle of the Bay Area. Hayward is connected to the San Mateo Bridge, 3 minutes away. It's 13 miles from San Francisco one way, 17 miles to San Jose the other way, right? So it's like right in the middle of the planet Bay Area, and people are just starting to realize, wow, that's right in the middle. It's not Frisco, it's not San Jose, it's not Oakland, but man, that's kind of cool. So I think that's starting to get out. That it's the closest commute city you can live in the Bay Area, I promise.
Yeah, and then for you, average price point there, from what you've experienced from your neighborhood to surrounding areas, what's your average price point there?
So there's really two types of homes in Hayward, like 3 types, right? So let's say there's a 75% of Hayward is going to be the old school, built in the 40s, 50s, 1,200, 1,300 square foot, 3-bedroom, 2-house. That's around 800, 900 right now. The other houses are around 1 million, 1.1. It's I'm gonna say it's probably a little cheaper than Oakland or around like Oakland, but it's not gangster like Oakland. Let's say that. But it's really Latin though, so it's a great culture. It's really Latin, so it's if you like the culture, it's an incredible city for that.
That's right. That's right. And Gary, for you, what I would do, and anybody else that wants to serve this particular market, I just remember. I found a house on Henderson, but when I'm looking here, list price was $749, sales price was $850. This house on Arvia Lane, $699, sold for $740. But here's the real truth here, Gary. these top 4 houses, this house had 9 offers, 6 offers, 6 offers, and 5 offers on Medford. So when you're thinking about a door knocking campaign, when you're thinking about, all right, Jacob, all right, Otis, let's go out, hit the pavement, let's go and find these opportunities. That's the opportunities where you know that the buyer demand is super heavy. And so what you do is you speak exactly to that behavior to the people that live in that community. Hey, listen, I'm not sure if you knew, but the Andersons just sold their home on Henderson and there was 9 offers. Unfortunately, they can only accept 1 offer, leaving 8 families super, super heartbroken that they can't live in this area of Hayward. So I'm asking the neighborhood, do you know of anybody that's considering a move? No, well, okay, perfect. Well, if you do find anybody, let me know. And then back shoulder before you leave. By the way, what are your plans with the house in the next 2 years? Like that's where you know the demand is based on how many offers they have. When I talk, we've talked about this before, you guys. When we talk about door knocking opportunities, that's where I put my focus, especially Gary, if you live there, and especially if you know that area like the back of your hand. Make sense? I think I froze. Are we good? Gary, give me a thumbs up. All right, cool. We're going to go to Melody. Melody, I know you're driving. Let's go over to Mel.
Yeah, I think that this is a really interesting conversation. And to, everyone's point there, it's definitely shifting to a buyer's market. And if you were to read the headlines and watch the news and read the articles online, you hear a lot about, we're no longer in a seller's market. We're in a buyer's market. However, my experience has been a little bit different. I think that there are some pockets of opportunity throughout the area where you get those or those, buy downs, but it's definitely not the case in places like Martinez, Pleasant Hill, Walnut Creek. Those markets are still solid. And my experience recently with a buyer had been that we wrote an offer on a property in Martinez. It was listed by my boy Roland. It was right there by Hidden Lakes Park, and we went 50,000 over the list price. We didn't get it. There was multiple offers on the property, and it went way over the list. And then we ended up writing another offer. This time, the buyers were more aggressive because they had already lost out on their dream home, right? So they came back with a little bit more punch. And we wrote an offer $90,000 above the list price. The house was listed at $978,000. We wrote at $1,068,000, no contingencies, 10-day close, and they ended up getting it. And so going 90,000 above in this market, for me, it just didn't make sense.
Sorry, Matt, you're breaking up a little bit. Cut your camera. Cut your camera so we don't lose your audio.
Okay.
There we go.
Can you hear me now? Is that better?
Yep, loud and clear.
Okay. So anyways, we had to go 90 grand above the list price in order to get the single family home in Martinez. And so it's kind of what we're experiencing in the market isn't always the same as what you're hearing in the news and what you're hearing in other parts of the Bay Area. So I feel like there are pockets of opportunity, but that's exactly what they are. They're just pockets. They're not like an overall what's going on in every single neighborhood. And I think it's like every city has a microclimate on its own, and every city is different. Like Hayward's popping off right now. Martinez is still popping off right now. Walnut Creek, Pleasant Hill, those markets are solid. But in other areas, there might be some opportunity. So it's kind of like, I can't say that we're in a buyer's market now, because we just had to go 90 G's above the list price on this house. And that's definitely still a seller's market. Sorry, my son's in the background.
Yeah, you know what? I totally agree. And we had that conversation a little bit earlier. I think you hopped on just a couple minutes after that. But it's all dependent, right? There's certain areas where it's always going to be competitive. I don't remember a time when Walnut Creek wasn't competitive. I don't remember a time where Poets Corner was not competitive. I don't remember a time where Maxwell Park was, you could find a great deal. So I agree with that 100%. I agree with that sentiment that it's all market specific. It's all neighborhood specific. It's all microclimate specific. So yeah, this got really good stuff. On to you. Had your hand up. Let's go to you really quick before we start to wrap sesh. Let's roll.
Just to add into what Melody said is besides just micro market, like it depends until like down to the house, right? If the house is hot, that house
Yeah.
is gonna fly off the market and it's gonna be over asking. Down to Stockton, I was in I put an offer for a client to this house in Stockton, and it went 30K over listing price in Stockton. So really it comes down to how great that house is and how well that listing agent like promote the house and how that listing is go up.
Yeah. And to think somebody would have said 5 years ago, no way someone's going to pay that much over in Stockton. But these are emerging cities. They're emerging cities because people are migrating out of the city and they're bringing their money and bringing their opportunities for more house, for more bang for the buck. And so it's impacting all of us all throughout the Northern California region. And so really good stuff on too. Let's go a couple key takeaways before we wrap session. I'm going to go over to Stavo and I'll go to Brandy. Just Brandy, not Brianna. Let's go to Stavo. Stavo, let's get one key thought, one key takeaway from our time together today. Let's roll.
Well, there's a lot of good stuff today. Definitely a lot of things that I'm gonna keep in mind to feel that really got me a little educated on areas that I needed to know more about. So like that whole talk about the San Francisco with the rent increase and all that, that will basically meant like how there will be an uptick on the market with prices, and it's a good opportunity for a buyer at the moment because it might not be a good opportunity later on in the future. I also like what Ugo had mentioned earlier about the advantage of being a buyer at the moment as well, because um, there's a lot of inventory right now, and with that sacrifice as the seller side, it might be a sacrifice, but you will find what you're looking for when you're on the buyer side. And I mean, yeah, like also about the median house price continuing to rise too. I really like that too.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Good takeaways. And yeah, I love what Hugo said and really just putting it into perspective like that. So, Brandy, let's go over to you. I know that you're busy being a mom. I don't know if that was sweet potatoes. If you're prepping for me for a meal prep, if you are, let me know what I owe you. But Brandy, let's go over to you.
It was sweet potatoes. That is the go-to. I'm about to have breakfast. But I think tying it all together, I liked Evangeline's sentiment in the beginning, and I think it really connected with the rest of the conversation of do it for the plot. And connecting that with the market is, what are you doing for the plot? What are you doing in the market to learn about the market? And being able to convey that to your buyers and sellers and reminding them, just like Hugo's sentiment of his experience with his buyer and seller, do it for the plot. So what are you doing it for? And kind of keeping that all in perspective. And just what FYI, the overcrowding over here in the Central Valley, a mom is salty that her kids are getting overflowed again. So tell all your Bay Area peeps to stay over there.
You mean overflowed at the school?
Yeah.
Wow.
This is going to be my second year, and Mama is not happy.
I don't know what that means when you say overflow. What's that mean?
So I'm going to have different kids at different schools.
Ugh. Jeez Louise. All right. Well, yeah. Great job, Bay Area. Great job, Bay Area.
That's just how much of the market is happening over here. I feel like Manteca, Lathrop, River Island, Stockton, all that, we are becoming the new hot Bay Area location. From a client, and this is kind of goes with that sentiment. I just had a Zillow client who is from Plymouth Lake and moved there back in like the COVID area, I think she said 2019, and is now heading back to be a little more closer to the Bay Area because they didn't anticipate that traffic.
Yeah, it's crazy. You guys, I live here in Lathrop and River Islands. We moved here about 4 years ago. We go to this annual thing. It's the celebration of Lathrop on the 1st of July every single year. Everyone's got their, kids out there and fireworks. Last night, we did it again. I mean, it was crazy how many people were out there. They had a stage. It was like a mini Coachella for the kids. It was wild. I look at where we are as kind of being like the next Brentwood, and how it's growing, the impact, the economic impact, how many people are moving out here, the housing values continue to go up. And so it's crazy. So you guys, thank you for all your contributions. These meetings are nothing without your thoughts, your contribution, your insight. Everybody has a voice. Everybody has a contribution. And if you're the person that lays in the cuts on these calls and doesn't put your hand up, I want to encourage you to speak up. Throw your hand up, shoot your shot, get involved in the conversation, practice here so you are not practicing with your consumer. So you guys, thank you once again for always showing up, for always being, open-minded to receive as well as to give. So you guys have an amazing day. And as always, keep it moving towards your dreams, goals, and vision to make today a day that matters. Peace.